Ready for a deep dive?
Let's do it.
Today, we're tackling Mel Robbins' The 5-Second Rule.
Oh, yeah.
A book about everyday courage. That kind of courage that pushes you to take action instead of getting stuck overthinking things.
Absolutely.
Before we jump in, though, quick introductions.
Sure.
For anyone new here.
Sounds good.
I'm the host and huge fan of exploring these self-help gems.
And I'm the expert.
Bringing a bit more of an analytical lens to the table.
Yeah.
But enough about us, Mel Robbins, and this 5-second rule.
Okay.
What's the big idea?
It's surprisingly simple.
Yeah.
It's about using a 5-second countdown
Okay.
to break free from hesitation
Well, wait.
and actually do the things you know you should be doing.
Oh, so you're saying it's like a tool to
So
overcome procrastination.
That's a huge part of it.
Okay.
But it goes way beyond that.
Really?
We're talking building confidence, going after your passions,
Okay.
improving relationships,
Interesting.
even managing fear and anxiety.
Wow. That's quite a range.
It is.
I have to admit,
Go on.
initially I was skeptical.
I get it.
5-second rule.
Yeah.
Sounded kind of gimmicky to me.
Yeah.
But then I actually read the book
Right.
and I was hooked.
She's really convincing.
Yeah, she backs up everything with neuroscience and these amazing real-life stories.
That's not just theory.
Right.
She's got the evidence to support it.
Okay, so where does she even start with this?
But she kicks things off with a story
Okay.
of David Foster Wallace,
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
the one about the two young fish
Right.
swim along.
Yeah.
They bump into an older fish,
Uh-huh.
and he asks them,
Wait.
"Morning, boys, how's the water?"
Yeah.
And the young fish are totally confused. What's water?
They're so used to it.
Exactly.
It's their whole world.
It's like we don't even recognize
Yeah.
the most essential things in life.
Wow, what a powerful metaphor.
It is, right?
It's like we're swimming in courage,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't even see it.
Maul's point
Yeah.
is courage isn't this rare quality
Mm-hmm.
that only some people have.
Right.
It's within all of us.
We just need to learn how to access it.
That's the key.
Okay, but how do we do that?
Well, that's where the 5-second rule comes in.
I'm intrigued.
She talks about this moment she had,
Oh, yeah.
feeling totally stuck,
Like in a rut.
struggling entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed mom,
Oh, wow. I can relate.
and then boom,
What?
this
The
idea
5-second rule.
just hits her
Almost like,
like a rocket taking off.
I love that imagery.
It's like she had to change something right then and there.
It makes you wonder if that urgency is part of why it works.
Right.
That feeling of, I need to do this and now.
Exactly.
So does the 5-second rule just shut down overthinking?
In a way, yeah.
How so?
Mel talks about how it hijacks your brain
Okay.
before fear can stop you.
So it's like,
Your prefrontal cortex
right, the planning and decision-making part.
gets overrun by the fear center.
Yeah, makes sense.
And she argues that the 5-second rule is like a shortcut to regaining control.
Interesting.
It interrupts that fear response,
And then,
lets you act on instinct.
okay, so give me an example.
Think of Rosa Parks,
On the bus.
refusing to give up her seat.
Yeah,
That wasn't planned.
right.
It was pure instinctive courage.
And then a few days later,
Yeah.
you have Martin Luther King Jr.
So young at the time.
making that split-second decision.
To lead the Montgomery bus boycott.
It's amazing how these spontaneous acts,
Can change history.
but we don't all face those kinds of monumental choices.
That's true.
So how does this apply to everyday life?
Well, think about those smaller moments
Okay.
where you hesitate,
Yeah.
where you know you should do something, but you talk yourself out of it.
Oh, yeah, like all the time.
Those are the moments when
Yeah.
the 5-second rule can really shine.
So can you give me some relatable examples? Absolutely.
Because monumental decisions, those
Yeah.
are pretty rare.
Right.
I need something I can actually use.
Okay, how about Todd in Australia?
Okay, what did he do?
He was miserable in his career,
Uh-huh.
but terrified to switch.
I feel
I finally used the 5-second rule. Went back to school for physical education,
Wow.
even though his parents weren't thrilled,
That takes guts.
or size in China.
Okay, what about her?
Terrified of rejection,
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
but used the rule to start making sales calls, one she'd been putting off.
Exactly.
You know what I'm realizing?
What that?
We often think of confidence as something you either have or you don't. But Mel's saying it's a result of action.
That's a game changer.
Right.
Like the more you push yourself,
Yeah.
the more confident you become.
Makes sense.
Because if you always avoid things out of fear, you never prove to yourself that you can handle them.
And she even mentions Brian Little's work.
On free traits. Yeah, the idea that even introverts,
Can act extroverted when they're passionate.
like that Cisco engineer she talks about.
The one who was super shy.
Right, but use the rule to speak up in meetings.
And his ideas were brilliant.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
It's about pushing past those self-imposed limits.
And discovering what you're truly capable of.
Which brings us to another key point.
What's that?
Following your passions.
Yeah, Mel's a big believer in that.
Listening to your curiosity.
Uh-huh.
Exploring those things that spark your interest.
Even if they seem unconventional.
Especially then.
She tells that great story about Joe.
The banker.
Yeah, who took a random class just for fun.
And ended up changing careers completely.
I love that story.
It shows how one small step can lead to a whole new chapter.
It's like a ripple effect.
And Mel has this great tip.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Pay attention to what you envy in others.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because often those are the things we secretly wish we were brave enough to do ourselves. I've never thought about it that way.
It's like a clue to your own hidden passions.
So if you're feeling stuck or unsure of your path,
take a moment to think about what you admire in others.
It might just point you in a new direction.
One you never even considered.
You know, relationships are where courage really gets put to the test.
Give time.
We need courage for those tough conversations. Setting boundaries, speaking our truth, even when it's scary.
Definitely.
Mel Robbins talks about the shift she had when her dad was diagnosed with a brain aneurysm.
Oh, wow.
And suddenly all those things she'd been putting off saying to him, they felt incredibly urgent.
It puts things into perspective.
It's a powerful reminder that we don't always get the right time we think we're waiting for.
It's like a wake-up call.
And what's interesting is her dad's reaction.
Yeah, what was it?
It wasn't fear.
No.
He was actually grateful.
Wow.
Grateful for the life he'd lived.
That's amazing.
And for the chance to maybe fix things.
So you wanted to make amends.
He even told her about his bucket list.
Really?
Including skydiving at 90.
That's incredible.
It makes you think, what would you be prioritizing?
Right?
If you knew time was limited.
That's a good question.
But even without a major life event like that, I think a lot of us struggle with saying what needs to be said.
Especially in relationships.
Yeah, it's tough.
And sometimes it's not about big declarations.
Right.
It's about smaller acts of courage.
Like what?
Reaching out to a friend who's struggling.
Okay.
Or finally having that talk
with
your partner about something that's been bothering you.
So speaking of things that bother us, can we talk about procrastination?
Oh, I'm right there with you.
Because I think that's where the 5-second rule really shines.
Absolutely.
I think everyone struggles with procrastination.
To some degree, yeah.
But I was surprised to learn that Mel differentiates
between destructive procrastination and productive procrastination.
Wait a minute.
You're saying...
Are you telling me there's a good kind?
Exactly, of procrastination.
She argues that when it comes to creative work, letting things simmer a bit can be beneficial.
So it's not just about avoiding the task.
Right.
It's more about...
dipping your subconscious time to work.
Makes sense.
But then there's the other kind. The kind driven by fear and anxiety.
The bad kind.
Yeah, the one that keeps us stuck.
In that cycle of avoidance.
And Mel's point is... procrastination gives us temporary relief.
From the anxiety.
But ultimately, it prevents us
from moving forward.
She tells this great story about Scott.
Okay, who's Scott?
This PhD student who was so afraid of failing.
Oh, yeah, I know that feeling.
That he kept putting off his research.
It's paralyzing.
It's so easy to fall into that trap of negative self-talk and self-sabotage.
It's hard to break free.
But Mel's message is so empowering.
In what way?
She's basically saying you don't have to wait until you feel confident or motivated
to take action.
Just count down from 5 and do it.
Even if it's scary.
Exactly.
So action creates momentum.
Yeah.
The more you push yourself to act, the more confident you become.
It's like a positive feedback loop.
And she even suggests using the 5-second rule.
For what?
To combat everyday anxieties, social awkwardness.
Okay.
Fear of public speaking.
That's a big one.
I always get butterflies.
Before presentation.
Every single time.
Well, Mel has this fascinating insight.
Okay, I'm listening.
Physiologically, anxiety and excitement are almost identical.
Really?
It's all about how your mind interprets those sensations.
So instead of thinking, oh no, I'm so nervous,
you could think, wow, I'm so excited
to share these ideas.
Exactly.
It's about reframing those nervous jitters
as positive anticipation.
It's like telling your brain,
this isn't a threat.
this is an opportunity.
I love that.
It's a simple shift.
But powerful.
Speaking of shifting perspectives,
Yeah.
one of the most powerful things Mel does
What's that?
is help us reframe our relationship with fear.
How so?
She talks about her own fear of flying
Really?
and how she used to have all these rituals.
To try to control it.
It's comforting to know that even someone like Mel Robbins
struggles with fear.
It makes it feel more relatable.
Right. It's not just us.
And she realized all those rituals were actually amplifying her fear.
Not calming it.
So she started using the 5-second rule
to redirect her focus.
How did that work?
As soon as she felt that wave of anxiety, she'd count down from 5.
Okay.
And force herself to visualize.
Visualize what?
The positive outcome.
Of the flight.
Safe landing.
Okay.
Seeing her loved ones.
Right.
Accomplishing her goal.
So it's like hacking the fear response.
By flooding her mind with positive imagery.
I like that.
And she says this technique can work for any fear.
Holding you back.
Whether it's fear of failure, rejection,
right,
or even success.
Wait, fear of success.
She calls it the upper limit problem.
What's that?
It's like we have this internal thermostat set at a certain level of success. And if we start to exceed that,
what happens?
We subconsciously pull ourselves back down.
You self-sabotage.
Exactly.
That's why it's so important to be aware
of our self-limiting beliefs.
And to challenge them.
And that's where the 5-second rule
could help.
Gives us a tool.
Interrupt those negative thoughts.
And choose a different path.
It's like taking control of the narrative.
And saying, I'm not going to let fear control me.
I love that.
And that brings us to one of my favorite parts.
Of the book.
The power of you.
That sounds intriguing.
It's about recognizing the incredible potential
within each of us.
And harnessing that power.
To create the lives we truly desire.
It's a reminder that we are not defined
by our circumstance
or our past experiences
or even our limitations.
We have the power to choose
our thoughts,
our actions,
and the direction of our lives.
And Mel shares so many inspiring stories
about people who've done just that.
People who've overcome incredible odds
to achieve amazing things.
We hear from a woman who quit her soul-crushing job to pursue her passion for photography.
That's brave.
A man who called off his wedding to follow his dream of becoming a chef.
Wow, that's a big decision.
And a 56-year-old veterinarian who started her own business.
After years of feeling stuck,
it's never too late
to start living a life that feels authentic.
And it often starts
with something simple.
Like getting out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, that sounds a bit mundane.
But Mel argues that conquering the snooze button is a powerful act of self-discipline.
Okay, I see where she's going with this.
It's about setting a positive tone
for the day
and prioritizing your well-being
before the chaos sets in.
I'm actually quite fascinated.
By what?
By Mel's own morning routine.
Oh yeah, what does she do?
She's incredibly disciplined about it.
Like how?
She even keeps her phone in the bathroom.
Really?
To avoid scrolling before getting out of bed.
That's smart.
It's about creating a buffer between waking up
and diving into the digital world.
Allowing for a few moments of quiet.
I like that.
She also incorporates things like exercise, gratitude journaling, reviewing her goals for the day.
It's about priming her mind for success.
Exactly.
Focusing on what matters most.
And what I find particularly intriguing is that she even plans her quitting time.
Her quitting time for work.
It's so easy to get caught up in work.
And let it bleed into your personal life.
She references Parkinson's law.
The one that states that work expands.
To fill the time available.
Right.
So by setting a clear end time,
she ensures she has time for other things.
Family.
Hobbies.
Recharging.
Makes sense.
And she admits that she often has to use the 5-second rule.
To force herself to stop working.
It's a reminder that even the most disciplined can struggle with boundaries.
It makes her approach so relatable.
Right.
She's not some superhuman productivity guru.
Exactly.
She's honest about her own struggles.
And she emphasizes that procrastination can creep into every aspect of our lives.
Not just work.
Putting off that doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
Avoiding a difficult conversation. Delaying that creative project.
We've all been there.
And one of the strategies she suggests
what is it?
is tapping into the wisdom of your future self.
Your future self.
She explains that research has shown that when we can vividly imagine our future selves, the people we want to become, we're more likely to make choices in the present.
That align with that vision.
It's like creating a mental roadmap.
Guiding us towards our desired destination.
So instead of getting bogged down by fears,
we can ask ourselves,
what would my future self do?
I love that.
It's about shifting your perspective.
And aligning your actions with your long-term goals.
That's a powerful exercise.
In self-reflection.
It's like getting advice from your future self.
Yeah, like a wiser, more experienced you.
Guiding you through those tough decisions.
And I think that connects to another big theme.
Okay, what's that?
Breaking free from autopilot mode.
Autopilot mode.
You know that feeling of going through the motions?
Well, yeah, totally.
Not really present or engaged?
Like you're stuck in a rut.
Just doing the same thing day after day.
No spark, no purpose.
Mel says this disconnection often comes from fear.
Fear of what?
Fear of uncertainty.
Okay.
Reluctance to step outside our comfort zones.
It's easier to stick with what's familiar,
even if it's not fulfilling,
than to risk failure by trying something new.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
By playing it safe, staying on autopilot, we miss out on so much.
Like what?
The richness and beauty that life has to offer.
It's like we're sleepwalking through life.
Instead of really living it.
So how do we break free?
Mel uses this analogy of a rocket launch.
Okay.
Think about the power needed to propel a rocket into space.
It takes a lot of energy.
It's about breaking free from Earth's gravity.
So are you saying we need that same kind of energy?
To break free from our own fears and limitations.
I see the analogy.
It takes a conscious effort,
Okay.
a burst of courage.
To interrupt those habitual thought patterns.
That keep us stuck on autopilot.
And that's where the second rule comes in.
It's like the ignition.
The spark that gets us moving.
And once we're in motion, momentum builds.
It gets easier.
Like pushing a heavy object.
Right, the initial push is the hardest.
But once it's moving,
it keeps rolling.
And as we act courageously, those fears and doubts start to fade.
We gain confidence.
We see ourselves as capable and resilient.
Able to handle life's challenges.
What I also love about Mel's book
is
she talks about the ripple effect.
Of our courage.
She shares examples of people using the 5-second rule.
Okay.
To make a positive impact in their communities.
Like what kinds of things?
Volunteering at shelters.
Okay.
Starting businesses that create jobs.
Wow.
Speaking out against injustice.
It's inspiring to see.
How even small acts can inspire others.
And I think that's a powerful message.
To end on.
You don't have to be a superhero.
To make a difference.
Everyday courage is accessible to everyone.
It's about those small choices.
To show up authentically.
To push past our fears.
To live in alignment with our values.
It's about embracing uncertainty.
Knowing that even when we stumble,
we have the strength to get back up.
And that's what Mel's book gives us.
A toolkit for cultivating that everyday courage.
For breaking free from autopilot.
And creating a meaningful, fulfilling life.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this question.
Okay.
What will your 5-second decisions lead to?
What dreams have you been putting off?
What if the right time is now?
And the perfect circumstances are the ones you create.
Experiment with the 5-second rule.
See where it takes you.
You might just surprise yourself.
With what you're capable of achieving.